Now, our final session this afternoon is on career pathways for building surveyors, and we've all known for a long time that this continues to be a vexing issue for the industry and the profession as to how do we get more building surveyors. And so today we're firstly going to hear from the State Building Surveyor, Andrew Cellini, about what's going on in this space and what efforts are being made by the state government and by him in particular for standing up some of these programs, and then we're going to have a panel discussion. But before I introduce the panel, I will introduce Andrew to do a short presentation on the state of play with regards to initiatives for building surveying career pathways. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, Bronwyn, and good afternoon, everyone, once again. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're all gathered today. I want to pay my respects to elders, both past and present, and the elders from various communities who may be here with us today. I'm really pleased to see so many attendees once again to this important annual event, and hope you find this and all the other presentations and panels of value. I think we've gotten off to a great start with lots of thought-provoking content. This session covers building surveyor career pathways, an area I would like to think all building surveyors can play an integral role in boosting the number and quality of new entrants into the industry. Both the Minister's address and Anna's address on the expert panel reforms highlighted the government's recognition of the importance of building surveyors and the need to support initiatives to increase the number and quality of building surveyors. This is also echoed in the Australian Building Code Board's Building Confidence Report, recommendations 1, 2 and 4 that cover career pathways for building surveyors and the experience requirements for registration as part of the model under the National Registration Framework. And we've all heard a similar theme from our first panel: resources are critical. And I was wondering whether that should have been our theme in hindsight, but I think navigating the evolution is also applicable. We've been strongly advocating that most building reforms will require additional building surveyors to be successfully implemented, and as such there needs to be a significant focus on growing the profession. Without this, our efforts at reform are going to struggle. Today, I'll provide a brief introduction overview of the various initiatives in place to increase the number of building surveyors and the number of current students from Victoria enrolled in building surveying courses, which I hope sets the scene for the upcoming panel and brings to light the important challenge we face. There are 3 programs currently underway, one being the Building Surveyor Career Pathways Program, a joint initiative between the Victorian Building Authority, Victorian Managed Insurance Authority and Domestic Building Dispute Resolution Victoria, and a seed for what I hope will be an expanded and enhanced program in the future. This 18-month program is designed to provide final year students and graduates with an opportunity to apply their academic knowledge in a dynamic environment and gain invaluable on-the-job experience. The program aims to create stronger career pathways for up-and-coming building surveyors, provide structured experience required for registration, and provide better support for the future generation of our industry. 6 cadets commenced with the program at the start of 2021, 2 who have already found opportunities with 2 Victorian councils. We hope with government support we can extend the program to include more participants and importantly include councils and privates that can provide the broader experience required for registration. The VBA Assistant Building Inspectors Program was introduced in 2019, with assistant building inspectors being placed within the Proactive Inspections Program and provided with on-the-job training and support. It's been successful in generating 3 registered practitioners to date and currently has another 3 assistant inspectors working towards registration. The program has been warmly received and some of the positive things they've said are captured on this slide. And then there is the local government program for women building surveyors. The Department of Jobs, Precincts and Regions is delivering this initiative through Local Government Victoria and in partnership with LG Pro, that's the local government professionals, with funding of 6.3 million provided over 2 financial years, and has given the opportunity to train 40 women to become building surveyors within councils across Victoria. This program not only tackles the shortage of building surveyors, but also the shortage of building surveyors in councils and in particular regional councils, as well as the shortage of women in our industry. Getting more women involved and interested in building surveying will not only provide the benefits that come with diversification of our industry, but also doubles the pool of potential building surveyors. I look forward to seeing these candidates, including our panellists today, Sarah and Wendy, inspire and lead other women into our profession in the future. Mentoring is another means of providing support and fostering the careers of students, graduates and practicing building surveyors. Unfortunately, there's a long lead time in regards to developing building surveyors through a course and then through the registrations. And I think we need to look at strategies that can fast track those that are already in the system and struggling to get appropriate experience. All types of mentoring, such as one-on-one, distance, virtual and group mentoring are a great way to support emerging building surveyors and sharing knowledge and experiences. My experience is that this is rewarding for not only the mentee, but the mentor. 2 of our panellists are involved in a mentoring program and may touch on their experiences during the panel session. Secondments between councils, privates and state governments are another initiative that we are keen to develop. We've had initial discussions with councils and LG Pro with the vision to provide opportunities to those that need specific experience for registration that may be obtained in another council or within a private building surveyor's practice. The opportunity to swap employees and broaden their experience in an alternative co-regulator will improve the shared understanding of the different challenges faced in private, local government and state government sectors, and improve collaboration between the co-regulators, which I see as critical in our resource poor environment. Finally, I thought I'd touch on our education challenges. This slide shows the number of Victorian students enrolled in building surveying courses across Australia. And I'd like to thank AIBS for providing this data. The numbers reflect students at different stages of their enrolments, so not only new enrolments. We appear to be in a good position with 299 students in the building surveying degree, 20 students in the graduate diploma and 420 in the advanced diploma. And as a result, expect to see more enter our workforce and become registered building surveyors. The challenge is to keep the number of enrolments growing and keep them in our system. Concerningly, the completion rates of a number of the courses are fairly poor, and this is something that we are looking into, but it does appear to be an issue not only in building surveying, but more broadly the tertiary system. We also have challenges in attracting experienced building surveyors as lecturers, which has been a common theme across a number of institutions we have engaged with and needs serious attention. Some of the incentives that we've looked at are providing CPD points for mentoring and lecturing for mentoring and lecturing activities to try and lift future participation and incentivise that participation. Another area for improvement is the facilitation of other allied practitioners, such as architects and engineers, into the building surveying profession by better acknowledging prior learning and experience, and streamlining the bridging courses and their requirements to entice that career change. So now I'd like to introduce my fellow panellists who will discuss the topic of the building surveyor profession and career pathways in more detail, and who all share my passion and enthusiasm for improving the opportunities for future building surveyors. Joining me today is Sarah Stevenson, a building surveyor career pathways participant, Wendy Turner, a Women Building Surveyors Program participant, and Jill Brown, the Chief Executive Officer at LG Pro, and someone who I know is very interested in providing opportunities today for the building surveyors of tomorrow. And finally, Stephen Shimonello, AIBS Professional Development Manager, and a great resource for the industry. Welcome panellists, and thank you for participating in today's panel. Bronwyn will be facilitating the panel, so I now invite Bronwyn back to get things started.
Thanks, Andrew, and welcome to the panellists. We're going to launch right into it, and I'd like to first hear from Wendy. I've asked Wendy and Sarah to open up the panel with a few minutes from each of them on how they're going with the programs that they're in. So Wendy's in the Women in Building Surveying program that's been sponsored and arranged by LG Pro. Wendy, what inspired you, and how's the experience going?
Thanks, Bronwyn. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Wendy Turner, a student building surveyor at the City of Whittlesea and a participant in the aforementioned Women Building Surveyors program. My pathway into the profession of building surveying was sparked by the realisation I was in an unfulfilled and unchallenged workplace. I decided to take a leap of faith and return to study. The Victorian government's free TAFE courses at the time offered training for a new career, and more importantly, a course in which jobs were in demand. This is what grabbed my attention. Honestly, not knowing a lot about building surveying, I made it my priority to attend information sessions at 2 of the registered training organisations. The more I found out about the profession and industry, the more I was eager to learn. Even when one RTO announced they would not be offering places for 2020, I was not put off by the travel, even when those around me thought I was crazy. The option of studying part-time was also a crucial element, as I still needed to work full-time. Even though I haven't worked in the building and construction industry, it was clear that I had transferable skills, life experiences, and could even bring my experiences as a homeowner, having built previously and going through the building process a few times. Around Christmas of last year, I heard about the state government's initiative to commence the Women Building Surveyors program. I wanted in. I was only partway through my studies at the time, but thought, what an amazing opportunity. And for myself, the chance of a lifetime to be immersed in the profession, learning on the job as I studied with a group of like-minded females on the same journey, knowing it was currently a male-dominated industry. I was absolutely thrilled to have been given the opportunity after putting myself and expressions of interest out there, and I am now one of 40 females to participate in this unique program. I have also been so fortunate to have gained full-time employment at the City of Whittlesea as a student building surveyor. To be employed within the council was a requirement of the Women Building Surveying program. What I can say about the City of Whittlesea is that they have been fully invested, and I've been exposed to a broad range of building surveyor responsibilities under the guidance of our MBS, Leo Parente, who has been a fantastic mentor for me, from heritage inspections, POPE applications, bushfire management overlay assessments, to compliance, enforcement duties, report and consents, mandatory inspections, building permits and the use of BAMs. During the unfortunate period when Victoria was hit by the severe storms, to have Leo explain to me and realise the support and networking that goes on between municipalities and within the building services teams in times of emergency situations was just amazing to hear. I must say the building and planning team at Whittlesea are wonderful, and I cannot thank them enough for their support and inclusion. A shout out to the building services team who I know are watching this afternoon. You have all provided an immensely positive start to my career. Also, to the City of Whittlesea Council's credit, they even onboarded a second Women Building Surveyor participant, which they are funding themselves as they too saw the benefits of investing in the program and the future of building surveyors. The concept of the Women Building Surveying program for me brings an exciting and boundless array of opportunities for mentorship and participant support, provides a platform to reach out and ask questions, both about studies and experiences in a non-biased, non-judgmental forum, provides networking opportunities, which for someone like myself, new to the industry, is invaluable and confidence boosting. The events of the past year with COVID have unfortunately impacted and have challenged the program's face-to-face opportunities and in-person experiences. So yeah, with bringing the group together, so here's hoping 2022 will provide these opportunities. What has worked for me and assisted my growth and learnings in this space has been to ask questions, surround yourself with great mentors, colleagues, and watch and absorb how they conduct themselves professionally, both verbally and written. Just put my hand up, saying yes to all opportunities presented and putting myself out there and out of my comfort zone, including this presentation. Also crucial to not just learn and study, but to do, putting these things in actions, attending inspections, webinars, interacting and reaching out to colleagues, peers, industry professionals. Hopefully there will be more hands-on experiences to come this year. A career in building surveying definitely excites me, and knowing it is not at all a gender restrictive career.
Thanks, Wendy. That's fantastic. I love your enthusiasm, and I smiled all the way through that. Sarah, could we hear from you for a few minutes on how your experience is going?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Bronwyn. I just want to preface this by saying that 2 years ago, I didn't even know building surveying existed. Now it's 2 years later, I've completed my advanced diploma, I've started my bachelor's, and I found myself at the beginning of a career field that I absolutely love and that I'm excited about. I was self-employed in a completely unrelated field, very recently divorced, single mum, so I made a choice for job security, not really knowing what to expect at all, and I haven't looked back once. I'm going to reframe the question a little bit as not to what sort of led me into it, but what sort of made me pursue it and want to stick around with it. And that's sort of the fact that I was very lucky right at the start to have a few teachers who were incredibly passionate about the industry. They sort of set that standard very early on for that passion and that energy for building surveying. And that was something that I'll take with me throughout my career. Over the last 2 years, I've tried to completely immerse myself in the industry. And I found that I absolutely love learning about the different legislation and breaking down the clauses. And I actually enjoy coming to work now and being challenged, where in my previous job, I was so completely bored the whole time. I came into this field barely knowing how to work a hammer and thinking that I'd be that far behind my classmates. But that was sort of one of the things that inspired me to kind of broaden my knowledge and learn from every possible source. And that's one of the things that this Pathways program has really done for me, is it's given me that foundation knowledge of being able to see, being on a rotational placement across the 3 different organisations that we get to work with, and getting to see that back of house element to everything and how it all ties together with all the functions of a building surveying role. Being able to see that firsthand and the diversity that goes with building surveying has really set the foundation for the start of my career. And one of the biggest other highlights that sort of comes from that sort of diversity of experiences that I've been able to have on the Careers Pathways program is the just sheer number of people we've been able to meet within the industry. We've been incredibly fortunate to be able to meet such a huge range of people across the 3 organisations, and being able to see how all those different roles interact and the functions has completely changed the way that I look at the industry. It's an experience that I wouldn't have had access to without the Careers Pathways placement, and the knowledge and the level of experience out there is pretty inspiring to myself and to the other cadets. I've met people who have that very specific knowledge in one area, or the people who seem to have that general knowledge of everything that relates to building surveying. And those are the sort of people that we want to work towards being in the industry. And we've had the pleasure of being able to meet those people and get inspired by them directly. Some of the challenges that I've sort of faced, I consider myself very lucky to be one of the cadets on the Careers Pathways program. As Andrew said earlier, there was only 6 of us who got selected, and I believe there was about 120 people that applied. I've had friends and classmates who are struggling to find work in the industry because of the stigma on students and cadets sort of not having learned enough and not knowing enough to be job ready. I also had the added challenge of being a single parent and being told that I wouldn't be able to commit to the time frame. There was no sort of recognition of skill at that point. It was just sort of not being available was the criteria. And I know a lot of other parents that I've spoken to, a lot of other students, a lot of other cadets have gone through a similar thing where they're discounted based on the presumed circumstance, not necessarily the skill. Given that, I am still really excited to be at the start of a career in building surveying. I don't know where I'm going to end up, and I don't know what type of building surveying I particularly want to get into. And that's an incredibly exciting place to be in a career. There are so many options of places we can go, so many ways to specialise and refine. And I know it's not an easy job, and I know it's going to come with a lot of challenges. And myself and the other students, we're not going in with those rose-coloured glasses that it's going to be perfect. But nevertheless, I'm looking forward to seeing what I can make of it. I love learning, and I see this as a career where I can continue to learn for the rest of my working days. And not having to be locked into one set thing for the rest of my life, that's exciting. I can work on that broad knowledge now. I can try a few different aspects and sort of see where I end up. And at this point in my career, I'm just excited to be opening those different doors and seeing what's available.
Thanks, Sarah. Again, another presentation that makes me smile, and hopefully all the rest of you. And it might be that these recordings can be great promotional material somewhere down the track for those involved. Jill, I want to bring you into the discussion now. Tell us about the Women in Local Government program, and what's the future for this program, and what have the challenges been in setting it up?
Thanks, Bronwyn, and it's really inspiring hearing from Sarah and Wendy about how passionate they are about their roles, going through two different programs, but having a great experience. Women in Building Surveyor program, so as Wendy and Andrew touched on, so there's 40 positions in councils across Victoria. The funding has come from the state government, and the majority of the funding has gone into councils to provide funds for employment cost as well as paying for the qualification. So we had a few possible teething issues in the beginning where we didn't have enough wraparound support. So we've got women that may be new into study, children responsibilities. Then we had COVID, then we had qualification courses being stopped, as Wendy alluded to before. So we realised quite early on that we need to invest quite heavily in those wraparound services and support, and also the advocacy that LG Pro needs to ensure that these courses continue, and also working closely with VMIA, AOBS, and making sure that we're on the same message and making sure these courses are available. Also just touching on what Wendy said, what's been really great about the program is it's inspired councils to actually self-fund some of the roles. And so we're currently LG Pro is currently working with the state government to look at another budget bid to see if we can get another 40 through in the next few years. So fingers crossed that goes ahead.
That's fantastic. I want to, because we're chewing up time, but I'd love to be able to hear more from you, but I want to move on to talk about the building surveying courses, which you mentioned have been a bit of a challenge for you, and Wendy, you mentioned as well. Stephen, you are undoubtedly an expert in this field. I've had engagement with you on these issues in a number of forums, and you're very impressive in terms of what you know about these courses, not just in Victoria, but around Australia. And the AIBS accreditation program is also incredibly mature and does provide a really important service effectively to the whole career pathway progression for the industry. Some people, though, say that they don't get job-ready graduates. So is that a fair observation? And what do you think is happening out there in terms of the quality of courses and how well they prepare people for the roles of building surveyors?
Yeah, thanks, Bronwyn. I'd like to say that, AIBS, we're celebrating our 60th anniversary this year. So we've been around for 60 years. So it started off in Victoria back in 1962. So, it's a bit of a milestone for us. But in terms of that statement, I tend to agree with the comments provided, and I've really heard anecdotal evidence from industry that students really are graduating from their course that are not work ready as well. So I tend to agree with that. Recently, the ABCB published a report that Andrew just mentioned before regarding recommendations 1 and 2 of the Building Competency Report, from one that you co-authored with Professor Shergold. And that confirmed that the scope of the advanced primary building surveying is aligned to class 2 to 9 buildings of only 2 stories and 500 metres squared. So they're saying that jurisdictions should consider either reducing the restricted building size for building surveys to level 2 to match current training outcomes, or require the curriculum for the advanced primary building surveying to be expanded to cover those current restrictions. So that was just cited off that particular report itself. I will say that AIBS were requested by all building ministers in Australia through the Building Ministers Forum to actually gain a professional standards scheme. And it's through that professional standards scheme that recognises AIBS as a professional organisation. So the PSS is really a legislative instrument that obliges AIBS to monitor, enforce, improve the professional standards of members under that scheme, thereby reducing risk for consumers and also professional services. So the 3 key areas really: accreditation, including course accreditation, auditing, CPD. So accreditation is where I'd probably sit. But AIBS really have a number of accredited building surveying courses that range from level 3, which is a class 1 and 10 buildings, being 2 stories, level 2, which is a building survey level in Victoria, and level 1, which is a building survey unlimited. There's also entry levels from allied professionals such as engineering, architecture and construction management into building surveying. So allied professionals need to complete a graduate diploma in building surveying, and that actually would meet the academic requirements for level 1 building surveyor. It does in other states and jurisdictions, but unfortunately it doesn't in Victoria. Interestingly, I just want to clarify the levels of building surveys, and it's recognised by the ABCB National Registration Framework that's published a report. This confirms that a level 1 building surveyor, BSU, essentially an honours degree, which is a 4-year course. And the other alternatives, it could be a competency degree, such as an engineering degree or an architecture degree, on top of a graduate diploma in building surveying. So a graduate diploma is generally 1 year full-time course. Then you have the level 2 building surveyor, which is the advanced diploma, and also the level 3, which completes the first year of the advanced diploma. But having said that, there are recognised AIBS accredited courses, such as the course offered by Central Queensland universities, that really allow for exit awards to meet the equivalent of a level 3 building surveyor or building surveyor limited, and then a BSU academic qualifications. So this is a great initiative that allows students to continue their studies and also gain the academic qualifications to become accredited. So whilst you're working, you actually get an exit award, which will then give you the academic requirements to get registered up the levels until you get the building surveyor unlimited. So you don't need to wait till you finish your degree. But there is considerable concern, essentially, with also teacher shortages in the TAFE or RTO sectors, teaching advanced diploma. Unfortunately, one requirement to teaching this course is that all teachers are required to be accredited building surveyors. So AIBS really do not agree with this. And if you are a retired building surveyor, then what's stopping you from teaching in those courses and so forth? You've got a lot of experience that you could actually share. Similar to if you're a professional engineer, why can't you take the structural subjects? Or if you're a town planner, why can't you teach planning subjects? So those things just don't make sense, and that's probably adding to those shortages.
Okay. Andrew, could I ask you to comment on this issue of the job readiness of graduates from these courses?
Yeah, thanks, Bronwyn. I think if I speak from my own experiences, and it probably sort of relates to a couple of things that Stephen said, I'm actually a graduate from a bridging course. So I did engineering in South Australia, practiced as a structural engineer for 10 years, and then did a 1-year part-time bridging course post that to get into building surveying. And so hopefully I'm a good example of what can be achieved in that space, and I think the need for us to look at it in Victoria as to how we can encourage other practitioners from allied building areas to come across to building surveying. They've got that broader experience in the industry and can come into the industry. I think from my perspective also with my engineering course, it was necessarily sort of high-level engineering is very broad, so there's lots of different areas, and it basically gave you the skills to solve problems and understand where you or understand your limitations and where you didn't know what you didn't know, and go out and actually fill in the gaps and have that process. So I think it is challenging for the courses to provide a ready-made, off-the-shelf product that can sort of step in, that a lot of the learning is necessarily on site, and hence the beauty of some of the programs that we've sort of discussed here too, that it's giving that best of both worlds, where they are studying, but they also have the ability to get that on-the-job experience, can relate it back to their study, so the study becomes more valuable as well. But I'm sure everyone that we've got on today, and others that are probably listening, would acknowledge that there's a further way to go in their journey, and they need to do that while they're actually working, and that really relies on their employers providing that mentoring, that support, and I think that has been a challenge in recent years. That I think the pressures on the industry have meant that there's less time to actually dedicate and foster new entrants and provide that. So that probably exacerbates that frustration sometimes, that entrants aren't more independent. But yes, I think there are definite challenges there. But I ask employers out there that this is something that we really need to give back, and that sort of short-term pain will give us long-term gain. And I think our experience with these cadets, and I think it's really exciting that Whittlesea have actually sort of picked the ball up and actually gone out and funded their own cadets. So that really sort of evidences the benefit that they see, that you can get some real two-way benefit out of these younger entrants.
Wendy, could you explain to us what your experience has been of the study as compared to your on-the-job, your day job, and how the two connect or don't connect, and what's your experience of the course you're doing?
Yeah, most definitely. So I'm in my last year of part-time studies. I'm doing the Advanced Diploma of Building Surveying at Melbourne Polytechnic. So I guess during my time I was watching face-to-face initially, so then to wholly online, and now a bit of a blend. As Stephen alluded, across the RTOs there have been teacher shortages. Not taking away from the current teachers, but attracting teachers that have had industry experience and can impart their years of experience and knowledge to the students is near impossible, it seems. As all of you know, building surveying is a highly regulated and technical industry. So ideally, to be trained by those with that experience, and again, there's been made mention, even engineers or town planners would be fantastic, but also to be immersed out in the field and on site to hear, see, touch, smell, don't know about taste, but I believe is crucial to the job, to be job ready and prepare our students for the functions and responsibilities that lie ahead. So unfortunately, mainly due to the online learning, the immersion just isn't happening. So, which I'm so fortunate to be have this full-time position here at the City of Whittlesea, because that has just complemented amazingly my studies. I will say though, however, with regards to Melbourne Poly, just quickly, they thought outside the square during lockdown and online learning. So they've organised presentations for students from industry professionals, professionals such as building surveyors, from Fire Rescue Victoria, the VBA, and cladding manufacturers such as Askin, just to name a few. I know the students have been appreciative of the time volunteered up by these presenters. These have, in my opinion, been a fabulous way of providing unique insight and understanding into the day-to-day goings-on and understanding of different roles and responsibilities, which far surpasses online classes at times.
Yeah. I'm just going to get a poll question come up, and I'll ask Sarah for your comments on the experience at school and whether you think that it's going to make you job ready or help you get job ready. And whilst Sarah's talking, the poll question will come up for you to consider and answer.
So I sort of agree a lot with what has already been said so far. For me, my entire advanced diploma, so 2 years of the advanced diploma was online, and it looks like the bachelor is going to be the same way. A lot of us as students feel like we've been sort of forgotten about, and that the ITOs are just going through the motions of getting students through the system. The teachers are trying their best with the limited course content that they're given, but the lack of access to things like plans and resources makes their job to teach incredibly hard, especially when they don't always have their own history in the industry. The ability to engage and truly learn from a subject is very low with online learning. I've had to rely on my own networks through other cadets to get access to educational elements. Actually, like the talks that Wendy was talking about, Melbourne Poly actually extended those to VU students as well, so we could be included in those discussions, which was a very valuable system. Yeah. The old Diploma of Building Surveying had that practical component, which serves the purpose of not only providing invaluable hands-on experience, but it also builds those in-person connections. I've spent the last 2 years in class with a group of people that I wouldn't even recognise on the street, let alone recognise if I was actually working with them. As students, we're very aware of the deficiencies in the training courses provided, but that's what makes us collectively so eager and so hungry to learn from the wealth of knowledge in the industry. We just need to be given that chance to get our foot in the door.
Okay, I just want to now end the discussion on the topic around mentoring, which you've already mentioned, Andrew, and you've already sort of shared your views as to how important this is for professionals to give back to the industry through mentoring programs. Stephen, have you got any updates for us on AIBS mentoring programs or initiatives?
I do, sorry, Ron, I've got too many buttons here to push. Sorry about that. Well, AIBS have really got a number of initiatives for building surveying students on board at the moment, and I'll just highlight some of those and also what's coming through. It's provided through mainly our online student-only portal platform called Nexus. So these include webinars on obtaining your work experience, applying for AIBS accreditation, basically a how-to guide, introduction to AIBS accreditation, and attaining your academic qualifications. There's others to be introduced commencing next month with high technical content webinars that will deliver to all technical matters involved in the NCC, and that's really aimed at new entrants and students. So there'll be a Q&A session for that, and that'll be on a monthly basis as well. The other areas we have also in forums on student and recent graduates when they're seeking professional opportunities. So employers can put their requests in and students can actually then apply for those works as well. And also updated information on the new advanced diploma and also the impact that that has for existing students, because it's okay if you're entering the advanced diploma now, but for existing students, they may have to complete extra courses. So just a reminder, Bronwyn, we're running out of time, but we've actually got hundreds of students registered in this portal. So please encourage you all to register for that portal today.
Jill, what have been what's the mentoring approach in the Women in Building Surveying program, and have you got any comments on mentoring?
Well, Andrew will tell you I'm very skewed into mentoring, coaching, secondments. I think it's incredibly important that people get the opportunity from prior knowledge and also on-site delivery. So at the moment, we engaged a professional coach that is available to all 40 of our participants, and it can be anywhere from assisting with difficult conversations, what they need to focus on in their course, where they want to go in their career. So that's something as LG Pro we've heavily invested in. Long term, I'd like to see a mentoring program that specifically looks at building surveyors and making sure that we've got that support. And then also, as Andrew mentioned before, exploring secondments and how we can make sure that on-site delivery. We're also very grateful to the state government for providing us extra funds where now that we're able to be face-to-face, we will be able to take our participants on technical tours and really try and, and Wendy, I'm sure you'll love it, we'll really be able to start getting out and seeing those things that they've missed by things being online. So we've approached it in a number of ways. And again, really appreciate the funding to be able to do it, because if we just relied on being able to do it through councils, we don't necessarily have the resources to do it.
Sarah, you're involved in a mentoring program. Could you tell us a little bit about that? And we are running out of time, but if you could give us some comments, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief. It is my favourite topic, so I could talk about it all day. I just want to say initially that it's great to hear that AIBS and Allergy Pro are sort of initiating these systems. The more mentorship programs that are out there, the more people will have access to them, the more people are going to get registered. So I'm involved in the mentorship program through the BSIG, Building Surveyors and Inspectors Group. Over the last few months, we've set up a formal mentorship program open to all BSIG members. This program it starts off with a questionnaire that helps us look at the needs of that student, grad, cadet, wherever they may be in the industry. We then match those emerging surveyors with a one-on-one mentor based on their specific needs. We sort of take into account the individual's current education, their level of experience, and sort of where they're currently working to broaden their horizons within the industry. They can then get career advice, or they can reach out and contact them for technical questions, and they can have that sounding board of someone with that wealth of industry experience all sort of wrapped up in their mentor. Through the mentorship program, we've also started running weekly tech talks where we have an informal education session on one specific element of building surveying, whether that be the requirements of a Form 1 or certificates of title or the various NCC clauses. These tech talks offer a space to learn from people who have that experience working with them every day, but also offer a roundtable space to ask questions and really unpack these elements and the variations that might occur from the personal experiences of the mentors who are running these sessions. These have been incredibly valuable, and the feedback from the mentees has been overwhelmingly positive. I know even personally that I've got a lot out of them. Through the mentorship program, we're also running regular networking events targeted at bridging that gap between emerging surveyors and established industry. We're also trying to build up a database of technical guidelines and resources to help provide information that is relevant to the current needs of emerging surveyors here in Victoria. We've also a dedicated forum space on the mentorship program on our BSIG website, which is open for discussions and questions about the industry, and it's really starting to get that community feeling going around it. I'll just wrap up here, but the thing that gets me the most excited about the BSIG mentorship program is that all of those that fall into the emerging surveyor bracket have actually been involved in the process for developing it. We've been asked what we need, like who we actually want to hear from, how they can help us. BSIG have taken me on as one of the leadership positions for this program, and that gives us as students an avenue to truly be heard and express the things that would really help us on our path towards registration here in Victoria. And it gives those emerging surveyors that support and that advocacy that we need coming into the industry.
Thanks, Sarah. That's a very enthusiastic wrap for the mentoring program. Andrew, I'm going to let you have the final comment, and perhaps in doing so, comment on the response to the poll there. It looks like there's some a popular one, of course, is to take the grads on and help them through to registration, but also some interest in the mentoring programs.
Yeah. So I think it is quite interesting. I think it's pretty even at the other end. Obviously, the 1 to 2 year programs, I think they're attractive because I think they tend to result in building surveyors that hopefully stay with you. So I think the risks with a 3 to 6 months placement is that you're investing that time and effort, and they rotate through the program. But I think the benefits of that rotation means that you end up with a really more rounded and you give them more opportunity in different areas. I think there's still benefit in that. Maybe the 3 is too low because the 3 is 3 months is pretty small. But good to see that there's good support for mentoring as well. So we might be sort of coming out and tapping on some shoulders in regards to that to support those programs that are out there at the moment, and just get more involvement, because we really need that mass and volume, and try and it'd be great that if we actually had students and newcomers with more than one mentor. So if we actually had that ability to get to that position, would be terrific. Probably that's given the time.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, thank you. Well, look, I don't know about all of you, but I found that a really inspiring session. So thank you so much to the panellists for the enthusiasm with which you came to this session, and all the best of luck to Wendy and Sarah for finishing off your placements and cadetships and courses. And I'm sure we'll see you up here involved in this this conference again as you progress your careers and become leaders. And for any of you older, more mature building surveyors out there who are feeling a bit jaded, I hope that that's given you some great inspiration and enthusiasm and confidence that we do have people coming through who are really happy to be building surveyors and can't wait to get their careers going. And so it's a bit of a call to arms for all of you out there to do your bit, think about how you can put back in through some of these programs and put your hand up to go and speak at Melbourne Polytechnic or one of these places and share your experience. Where the industry, the profession really needs you. So that concludes today's session for the conference. We'll all be back tomorrow morning for another 3 hours of wonderful presentations, panel sessions and polling questions and so forth. I hope you've enjoyed the day, and I remind you that if you've got Q&A for Sue and Andrew, which I'll be responding to tomorrow at the end of the conference, please send them through and we'll be looking at all those questions overnight, making sure we can answer them. But otherwise, enjoy your evening and I'll see you all in the morning. Thank you. Good night.